Good afternoon. It's another Wednesday at noon and time for another Kuker-Ranken Lunch and Learn. And we are thrilled today to be sharing with you again, Jeremy Kippen, and we'll be talking about Captivate. So I'm just going to turn it right straight over to Jeremy.
Welcome back to another Lunch and Learn today. It is Wednesday, October 18th. If you're not already ready for Halloween, we're almost there. So I'm going to jump right into this. Today we are talking about, I'm going to share this. We are talking about doing firmware updates on your Leica Captivate equipment with an SD card. Now, there's many different ways to actually do the firmware update. You can send it into the technicians to have them do it. You can do it with a certain cable. You can do it over the air. So with your computer and the internet, you can do it that way. My preferred way is doing it with my SD card. Well, I'm just going to walk through what does that look like and how to get from point A to point B. I am going to have Jennifer share a couple of YouTube links. They're linking back to our previous Lunch and Learns. One is on an introduction to Leica My World with Matt Kowalski, and then the other one is about the Leica Captivate equipment. I did that one earlier this year, so just for viewing purposes, I want to share those forward again. All right, and so moving forward, a little bit about myself. If you guys are unfamiliar with me, I have been working with Kuker-Ranken for almost 4 years. 3 of those years have been in the sales department. I am now their purchasing coordinator for the company and still get the honor to do Lunch and Learns every once in a while. So it's a great little break to my day. As you see, my contact information is off to the left there. I've got my LinkedIn page, our website, my email address. If you have any questions, feel free to write that down and send me your questions. All right, so we're going to talk about what do we need? What do we need to do this? As you can see here, we need a computer, reliable internet connection, a Leica branded SD card. This is going to be a little difficult to show you, but this is a Leica branded SD card. The reason for the Leica branded SD cards is it is an assurance to you that if something was to go haywire while you were doing your firmware updates and it was required to send back to Leica, they can actually go in and see if you used a Leica SD card or a non-Leica SD card. And so if you used a Leica SD card and it failed and it corrupted your firmware and you had to send it in to Leica to get it rebooted, they will 100% recover all your data and restore onto your data collector for you. So no harm, no foul. You still recovered everything. And with a survey, being a surveyor, keeping records of your surveys is very, 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 very important. If you used a non-Leica SD card, you actually will lose your data because they will not restore it because you went against the manufacturer specifications. Next, we will need 2 fully charged batteries. They do say 50% plus. I always err on the side, let's just go 100% fresh batteries. Your equipment. Now your equipment can be a robotic total station, a GPS unit, a data collector. So how I'm doing mine today is I'm focusing on working with the GS18 and the CS20. And of course, as always, bottle of water, everybody stay hydrated and put some good music on while you do this because it's a fairly simple process. All right, so step 1 is want to launch your web browser. Google, I'm a Google snob. Google or Mozilla or Internet Explorer, you can download whatever you prefer, use those. And with this link here, you will want to go into the Leica My World customer portal. If you do not have a login, you can go ahead and register. If you do have a login, go ahead and log right into this and move on to the next step. So next step, what do we need to do? Well, we need to find the software. So once you have logged into My World, you're going to go to My Products, and if you have entered everything in, you will have a catalog of every single piece of equipment you have, ranging from your data collectors, your toll stations, to your GPS units. And what you will want to do there is select the unit in question that you're going to upgrade and browse over to the software page. And this is where I know this is a little difficult to see, but you can see a couple different items right here. You can see your Leica Captivate release notes, as well as the Leica Captivate GS18 firmware. And I do understand that this is a little difficult to see, but the current version is version 8.0. I did download the Captivate release notes. I will have Jennifer post that PDF into the chat box as well. That way you guys can view it and you can see what changes were done with version 8.0 that came out about a month and a half ago. And as well, just as a little forewarning, it does give you step-by-step instructions at the end of the release notes how to do your firmware updates. It gives a little more detail than I am able to go into today, but I want to give a 30,000-foot overview of what we're actually doing here. So once you've selected your firmware to download, it is going to download to your download files within your File Explorer. From there, we can now start the initial process of what we're going to do to download the firmware. Rule of thumb is we always start with our GS units first. So your GS16, your 15s, your 14s, your 18s. The reason being is you always want to get those units done first because we are relying on a Bluetooth connection to communicate while we're doing our firmware updates. And if you were to do your data collector first, you're going to lose Bluetooth connection to your GPS unit and so forth. So it's recommended that you do start with your GPS unit first and then finish with your data collector last. So one of the first steps that you're going to do, and this is step 3, so one of the first steps within step 3 is you want to exit the Captivate screen on your data collector. And how you do that is you're actually going to push Function and Windows, and it's going to bring up just a Windows screen that looks like your desktop, and you're going to look for an application, a tile that says Web Server Bluetooth. This is how we are going to establish the connection to do the firmware updates. And so with that, you have taken your firmware file from your downloads and you have insert your SD card into your computer, and with it being in a Leica instrument, it is going to have all of your catalog files already set up. And you will go grab your firmware file and you will drop it into your systems folder. Oh, looks like I lost my share screen. All right, we are back. And so what we will want to do is put your SD card into your GPS unit and launch your Web Server Bluetooth app. And then it'll bring up another screen where you can select your user and then load firmware. And on that screen, you will also select that you are confirming that the firmware that is going onto the data collector is in the system, or onto the GPS unit is in the system folder, and that you agree to the terms and conditions of the software. You can go ahead and hit your big green plus sign and it will start to download. This will cycle through, the unit is going to restart, the lights are going to flash, and once that is done, you can verify that you are on version 8.0. So once that is done, it is now time to do our data collector. We can relaunch Captivate, and we can go into our downloads within our File Explorer and grab the Leica Captivate 8.0 file from your downloads. You can then remove the current items in your systems folder from the download on your GPS unit. You can delete those out and drop your new file in, and you can flip it into your data collector. And now, moving forward, what we'll do from here is a very simple, straightforward process. We're going to go to our settings. As you can see here, we're now in our settings, and we're going to select our tools. And now our tools, we're going to select our update software. Pretty easy, right? And now, if you've done everything correct, you're going to see that we're going to use our SD card to update our software. The file to load should reflect something as CS20 Leica Captivate version 8.00 FW, and we're going to be version 8.0. You've read the terms and agreements, and with version 8.0, they actually now have a QR code that you can scan with your phone to read the terms and conditions instead of having to read this long list that used to populate with it. So now that we've done that, we can start the firmware upload process. And this can take anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. It depends on how big the file is. And same situation as the GPS unit, it's going to cycle through, your lights are going to flash, you're going to know it's successful. And I'm sorry I could not grab screen grabs of this because while you are doing the update, you can't necessarily grab screen grabs, and a picture of a picture is awful. So take it for my word. If you need help, please reach out to me. But once this is done, you will know this process is done because it will restart. And once you're restarting, it will show in the bottom left-hand corner what version you are now running. And it should say version 8.0. Your second way to check this is going to be if you go into your settings, then tools, or go into your settings, then about Leica Captivate. And as you can see here, your Leica Captivate version is going to be 8.0. Now, not too bad. It is, like I said, this is an easy process. It looks scary, let me guarantee you. I have been doing this for about 10 years now. It's not a scary process. It's actually a very easy process. And as I mentioned earlier, my preferred process when I am meeting with customers to do this is how we like to do it, because we can get multiple units going at once and cycle everything through, and then you're just done. All right, but right now, this is everything for my presentation. I know that was a little quick and a little long-winded, but I am going to just skip over. Again, we have our different locations from the Northwest all the way down to the desert here in Las Vegas. If you're in our territories, please reach out to one of our reps if you have any questions. And thank you guys for attending. I'm going to turn this back over to Douglas and see if we've got any questions rolling in.
No questions so far, Jeremy.
Whoa, no questions.
Well, kind of a surprise today, but this is also not a super deep topic.
It's not.
As updating software. So, Jeremy, when you've done software updates, have you run into any particular things you would consider challenging that might be a good tip for people besides working with your GPS unit first versus the data collector first?
Actually, yes, I have. There is one thing that I did not mention, and Douglas brought up a very great point. If you download multiple versions of the same software in your computer, you're going to get the name of it. So it'll be like GSXX, Leica Captivate version 8.0.FW is going to be your sequence. If you downloaded 2 or 3 versions of that, you're going to get a parentheses with 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you try to download one of those firmware versions with that number character at the end, it will not download your firmware. It will actually look like it's doing something, and then it will reject it and fail. Please make sure that at the end of your sequence, all it is .fw.
And
that is.
Oh, go ahead. Complete.
I just was going to say that is something that will buy everybody at least 5 times.
If you're running a really old version and you want to get up to the newest version, can you just simply skip from version X to the latest version, or do we need to do this in step-by-step increments per version?
It is step-by-step increments per version. The firmware, Captivate is built upon the old software, which was Viva, and it is now Captivate. And so everything is built upon each other as we've progressed into the future. And I'll be honest, from the first version of Captivate, when I started using it, to version 8, there are incredible changes. And it's something, if you are not using the most current version, get up to date. You will thank yourself in the long run.
So just to be clear, we couldn't go from a version 6 to a version 8. We'd have to go version 6, version 7, then version 8.
Yep, correct.
Okay. Just want to be sure I understood that correctly. Looks like we've had a question or two come in. We've had trouble with updates messing up the data connections. What can we do to reestablish that connection?
And that's going to be, that is actually something I would like to take offline and talk with you to see where your data connections are failing. Is it your Bluetooth? Is it your WLAN? Are you doing your GPS updates first and then your data collectors, or how you're doing your workflow? So I have a few more questions into that. So if you want to send me an email, I believe the email has been dropped in the chat already. All right. Anything else?
That's all I have for questions at the moment, Jeremy. That gets us through. We'll give folks just an extra second or two to get through some of our questions here. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and call up our screen here. For those of you who have not been to our webpage, if you visit our webpage here, you can see that we've got all of our different lunch and learns already on the Kuker-Ranken website. So if you go to our website, you'll see up at the top where it says here lunch and learn, and you can go down and capture all of our previous lunch and learn videos by date. So you can see those all laid out here. There's quite a large menu of them. We're coming up on just a little over 100 lunch and learns total. So we'd love to be able to get these out to everybody that's there. You'll also notice at the top there, there's for those of you that are drone folks, there's a mapping guide, and there's a few other things that are here for folks to access. And then if you have not hit our Eventbrite page, we've got our Eventbrite page where you sign up for these. I think most of you have probably seen this already, but here's our Eventbrite page that has all of our lunch and learns that are coming up. Next week, we'll be doing a different, we will not be doing the hydrographic survey. We've had to move that to another date. Jeremy, I think you're presenting next week. Is that accurate?
What was that again, Douglas? Sorry.
I said I think you're presenting again next week. Is that accurate?
I believe I will be presenting next week. On what? Not sure yet.
Okay, we'll get that up there a little bit later today. Then coming up next week or in 2 weeks on November 1st, we've got Brady Reich, who will be showing us the IF 1200A and the Inspired Flight 800A Tomcat. Then the following week, on November 8th, this is one I'm really excited about. We have survey control for non-surveyors. That's with Brian Worthen. He's out of our Salt Lake City store. And of course, we've got a couple of others up here as well with Jeremy Kippen coming forward. We've also, for those of you that are in the drone world, got a couple of lunch and learns coming up on remote ID and some of the new federal regulations as they're coming forward. So watch your Kuker-Ranken email lists coming through, and that'll give you some dates on when we've got a few things coming forward and what's next here at Kuker-Ranken. And Jeremy, we did just have one more question here that came in. Where does the Bluetooth connection app come from? Is it Leica or Windows? This is a user that has used the cable connection to the head as opposed to using the card. So where does that, or excuse me, using Bluetooth. So where does that connection stem from?
So Shelby, I did just message you back, but that connection, or the Bluetooth app, is within the Windows screen. So you're going to press Function and Windows on your data collector, and it will bring up your Windows screen, and then it will say Web Server BT right there. It's going to look like an Internet Explorer icon. You can double tap that, and it will launch up a new screen and it literally is old Viva software. And so if you run into any snags, again, email me, give me a call. I can walk you through it. And if you have any hangups, just please let me know. Just want to bring light to some different opportunities for you guys.
So to answer Steve Ferguson's question, Steve, usually we have these up within 3 or 4 hours. We have to wait for just a little bit for them to finish rendering on the server, and then after that, we're able to post them. So you should see this Lunch and Learn up on the website before end of day today. Thank you for that question. Well, folks, I think that brings us to the end of our Lunch and Learn presentation today. Perfect timing, Jeremy. We're right at 21 minutes. So well done.
Thank you, guys.
Thank everyone for being here with us today. So until we see you next Monday at noon Pacific Standard Time, be safe out there. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.